The events in this program are inspired by a true story. Names, dates, and details have been changed. Viewer discretion is advised. On this episode of Bizarre Murders, when two wealthy retirees looking to help the homeless
This is your new home, Frank.
I'm not sure what to say, man.
take a vagrant under their wing, it seems like a win-win situation for everybody.
Plus some pocket money for walking tickles now and then.
But when a dead body turns up the victim of a hit and run, investigators wonder, is this a tragic accident? Or do they have something far more sinister on their hands?
Attention, please. The Dainty Dames lawn bowling team needs a third to fill in Saturday. See Ruth at the desk.
So, I said, Jimmy, not in the green room.
Oh. The last time you told that one, it was Mick, not Jimmy.
Jimmy, Mick, you've seen one, you've seen them all.
It's Tuesday, and that means movie night. Folks, tonight, Heaven Can Wait with Warren Beatty.
Well, we have other plans tonight. Now, don't we, Pete? Besides, there's only so much of that scoundrel Mr. Beatty one can take.
Speak for yourself, Flo.
Flo and Bee are two old friends who live together at the Spring in Your Step retirement village. It's an upscale, exclusive retirement community on Florida's Atlantic coast.
Good boy, Tickles. We won't be out long.
They're an unlikely pair. Flo's a former dog breeder from an established family. Years ago, her husband died suddenly, leaving her some insurance money.
Where's my lighter?
You're not lighting that in here.
Well, you gotta die sometime, so you might as well make the best of it.
Bee is an aging flower child who had a successful career promoting rock and roll bands. Their paths crossed in the 70s when one of Bee's rock and roll clients needed a dog groomer. Despite their different backgrounds, they hit it off and became the best of friends. It was fun at first in the retirement home, but they couldn't shake the feeling that they were still young at heart and deserved a more exciting retirement. When Flo and Bee aren't playing cribbage or golfing, they spend a few nights a month at the homeless shelter, lending a hand to the less fortunate.
Gentlemen and lady, last week we talked about dressing for success.
And from the look of things, we can tell that you've taken our advice.
So tonight, we're going to cover some more basics, starting with this little pearl of wisdom. A penny saved is a penny earned. Just look at us.
When I retired from the FBI, my wife thought I'd go crazy, with nothing to do, no bad guys to catch, and no crime scenes to work. Luckily for both of us, I spent a lot of time in the garage with my classic car collection. Did I say classic? I mean old. But let's face it, for a lot of retirees, life can get pretty monotonous. And these two dames are no exception. For them, mixing it up means amusing themselves with some charity work, and their generosity extends way beyond giving life lessons and slinging beans down at the shelter.
This is your new home, Frank. What do you think?
I'm not sure what to say, man. This is also generous.
Oh, well, it's just like we said, Frank. We just know when somebody deserves a second chance. You said you used to be a writer, so this is your lucky day.
Now you can write all you want, but let's start with a little signature, shall we? Then we can add you to our Modest Arts Foundation as a member.
Okay, well, what is this?
Just some routine paperwork stating that we're your landlords, but we pay all the bills and rent, plus some pocket money for walking tickles now and then.
That's what I call a generous offer. Walk my dog and you can write the great American novel. Now, far be it from me to cast doubt on the kindness of strangers, but it can be a risky business. As an investigator, I'm telling you that trusting old ladies like Flo and Bee are among the most vulnerable people out there, and the bad guys know it. Their intentions might be good, but for sketchy dudes like Frank, they're also the perfect mark.
Almost 2 years after Frank signs the agreement, police find his lifeless body in an empty parking lot. Detective Carey catches the case. Security camera footage confirms that Frank was killed by a driver who fled the scene. But the license plate is invisible, and the make of the car isn't clear.
As investigators, we don't like hit-and-run situations. People who commit them are the worst sort of cowards, and they sometimes get away with it because, like with this case, there's often no witnesses, no tags, no make of car if it doesn't leave any body parts behind, just a human body and some skid marks. And Frank has no ID on him. He's just another homeless guy whose life got tossed away. Sadly, he's forced to shelve the case as an accident until some hard evidence saying otherwise turns up.
A week after Frank's body is discovered, Detective Carey gets a visit from an insurance company investigator named Charles.
Hey, my premiums are already paid in full, and double indemnity comes with the job. Just ask my wife.
I already did, Detective, but that's not why I'm here. Your hit and run has been ID'd, Detective.
Go on.
A pair of elderly ladies, it seems, called the police when their 10 didn't show up to walk the dog. They were then directed to the coroner.
The dog.
Yes, the dog.
A standard life insurance policy has a maturation period of 2 years, after which any claims are generally not investigated. But Frank's policy was just 2 days shy of maturing when he was killed, which means Charles is obligated to investigate the manner of Frank's death.
You know, us detectives are no strangers to the insurance world. After all, life insurance is one of the main reasons people whack each other. But adjusters like Charles rarely get directly involved in police investigations, and Detective Carey doesn't know how this guy can help him find whoever ran down Frank.
The toxicology report shows alcohol and a sedative in Frank's system.
You know, most hit and runs, they take damage in the lower body, but Frank was hit in the chest. He must have been lying on the ground the whole time. Driver likely didn't even see him. This dude had insurance.
Yeah, he had a $3 million life insurance policy.
For a homeless guy. Holy shit.
Mr. Bob Reno was not homeless, Detective, I assure you.
So here we have a homeless guy who wasn't really homeless, and it turns out he's worth millions to a pair of little old ladies. Now, down at the Bureau, that's what we'd call a big red flag.
Charles reveals that Frank was a down-on-his-luck writer who was rescued from the streets by 2 retirees named Flo and Bee. Not only had they set him up with a place to live, but according to the insurance documents, Flo has a little dog walking business, so they gave him a job too.
Free apartment, an easy job. It's a pretty sweet deal, right? Pretty sweet for everybody, because Frank didn't have just one insurance policy. He had a whopping 10. That's why he was worth so much as a dead man. And the beneficiaries? Oh, come on. You've guessed by now.
That's him.
was our Frank. Poor man, how awful.
To trigger the insurance policies, Flo and Bee have to claim Frank's body. But because Frank's death is ruled an accident, the medical examiner has no reason to notify Detective Carey that he's been identified.
Carrie.
But then, Carey gets a call from a detective from a different department who tells him he's heard about his case. It sounds a lot like another hit-and-run incident the other detective caught about 5 years back.
That's strange. Send me over the file. I'll have a look at it. Yeah. Okay, thanks, buddy.
The woman, Pearl Asner, was killed by a hit-and-run driver, struck in an almost identical manner as Frank. The case was never investigated, but two elderly ladies who weren't related to the victim picked up the insurance payout. It was unusual, but at the time, not suspicious. Armed with this new information, Detective Carey and Charles team up. Charles discovers that when she was killed, Pearl was living at the same apartment where Frank later lived, the apartment belonging to Flo and Bee. Like Frank, Pearl had also been homeless before meeting the two ladies. And when Pearl was killed, Flo and Bee had collected on the life insurance to the tune of $500,000.
Two homeless people suddenly worth a fortune? Well, that's quite a coincidence. And if you've heard me before, you know detectives don't believe in coincidences. But even though the investigators now suspect Flo and Bee are behind a sick and twisted insurance scam, there's no evidence tying them directly to the actual murder. All they know for sure is that the nice ladies helped out Frank and insured him. And those aren't crimes. Yeah, the whole thing looks highly suspicious, but it doesn't matter what it looks like. The question is, will they be able to prove anything? Or are these grifting grannies getting away with murder?
Would you like something to drink?
No.
No drink, but would you like a homemade hemp seed cupcake?
No.
Well, it's just such a shame about our dear Frank, isn't it, my good man? But I'm sure all our paperwork is in order.
I'm afraid there is a slight problem.
I beg your pardon, what problem might that be?
Well, there's an investigation going on into Frank's death. So you ladies might not be getting the money now or ever.
Ever?
I gotta go.
Thank you for coming. Bye-bye. God damn it, this is an outrage.
Now what do we do? They can't trace anything back to us, can they?
Oh, shut up and let me think.
I don't want to go to jail.
Stop talking. If they knew anything, we'd already be in jail. But we better find someone else or we're gonna go broke before you know it. Get dressed. We're going down to the shelter. Now.
Can you believe this? Our ladies are on the cops' radar, and they still think they can pull another fast one. And that's pretty bold, and that's pretty dumb. But Flo's right. Investigators can't prove anything yet, or else Flo and Bee would be doing the perp walk right now instead of heading to the shelter. They figure, why not? They can't bust them for being kind to the homeless, can they?
Detective Carey follows Flo and Bee around for the next few days. He's certain they're looking for another victim.
Well, you seem to be having a rough day, young man.
But maybe we can help him out. What do you think, Flo?
I think we most certainly can. What's your name, sweetie?
Phil. 3 p.m. Looks like our suspects are making a new friend.
Going undercover is all about blending in. And even though Detective Carey has an advantage because our ladies have never met him, there's always a chance they'll smell something fishy. Crooks are like that. They have this kind of built-in cop detector, so the detective has to be extra careful. If Flo and Bee realize they're under surveillance, they might bolt.
Well, now, what do we have here? Give me a second. Oh,
There's still nothing concrete linking Flo and Bee to Frank's hit and run, so they can't bring them in on murder charges. But they need to bring them in on something.
okay. Thank you. Detective, we just caught a break. There is no dog business registered in Flo's name. So technically, Frank wasn't an employee.
So what? What does that mean?
Well, it means that Flo lied through her teeth on the insurance application. I know it might not sound like a big deal lying about a dog walking business, but when this little itsy-bitsy lie is put on an insurance form, which is then mailed to the insurance company via the United States Postal Service, it becomes a very big deal indeed. And it's federal. It's called mail fraud. I guess the gals didn't think that one through, did they?
Don't forget, it's hot yoga day today, folks. So limber up and boogie down to our brand new studio.
Oh my God.
Hot yoga, huh? That sounds exciting.
Are you a policeman?
I'm afraid you're under arrest for mail fraud on charges relating to a dog walking service of yours.
Oh, well, this is exciting.
Bee, we're being arrested.
You have the right to remain silent.
The arrests send a shockwave through the spring-in-your-step retirement village. The news that Flo and Bee are fraudsters is hard to believe.
Present you by the court.
By busting Flo and Bee for mail fraud, Detective Carey can also question them about the hit and run that killed Frank.
What's all this fuss about, Detective? Honestly, do we look like crooks?
You seem such a sweet, smart young man. And so handsome, isn't he, Flo?
Handsome, handsome. Oh, this is all your fault, you imbecile.
Don't you start on me, you old bat.
Oh.
The mail fraud charges are enough for Detective Carey to get a search warrant for Flo and Bee's apartment. Carey finds some very intriguing items. What looks like a license plate number on the sticky note, and a driver's license that doesn't belong to either of them. Detective Carey discovers that the license was reported stolen a month ago,
Bingo. Take a look at this.
and the license plate tag number on the sticky note traces to a local car rental company.
Seems like our light-fingered ladies didn't do too much to cover their tracks. You'd think they'd be more careful, but it's surprisingly common for crooks to make careless mistakes when they think they're getting away with something. As it is, their house is a treasure chest of incriminating evidence, like a signature stamp with Frank's old John Hancock, a stolen license, a tag. They might as well have drawn our detective a map with X marking the spot.
The rental company confirms that the two old ladies returned the car with a damaged grille, the same night Frank was killed. Detective Carey sees what looks like blood on the front grille. He swabs it and will send it to forensics for DNA testing.
I guess they should have gone to the car wash. It's obvious that Flo and Bee mowed down Frank. But what would motivate these two old biddies to kill and then cash in? They could easily afford to live in a place like spring-in-your-step retirement village. So why? For thrills? Could they really be that bored? Or maybe they're not as flush as they're making themselves out to be.
Detective Carey knows he has a pair of killers in his custody. He's hoping that if he applies some pressure, he can get them to confess.
What's all this fuss about, Detective? Surely a little fib about a dog walking business doesn't warrant a jail cell. How awful. That poor lovely man.
The lab results show that the blood on the car grill matches Frank's DNA.
Can you explain to me how this poor man's blood ended up all over the car that you two rented? Jig's up, ladies. If you know what's good for you, you'll start talking.
You've got us.
Oh, shut up! Shut up, you fool!
Shut up yourself, Flo. You were the one that started it anyway.
Oh, you're such an imbecile.
We have some very special guests tonight, folks. Back by popular demand, all the way from sunny California, it's Captain and Tennille. They're gonna do it for us one more time.
Oh, I just love it. But it's so expensive, Flo. I can't afford this. Maybe we can find some other place. That place down in Boca, perhaps.
Oh, not a chance. I'm not spending my sunset years in some shanty town surrounded by the sunburned hoi polloi. This is the place.
We've got to be realistic. We're retired.
Oh, I'm being realistic, all right. Don't you worry. I have a very realistic retirement plan for both of us.
It only stretches so far, you know. Your savings, your pension, your husband's life insurance.
Bee tells investigators that she and Flo just didn't have enough money saved for retirement. Not if they wanted to live in a place like Spring in Your Step.
So the prospect of trading down didn't appeal to either of them, especially not to Flo, who's obviously the brains of the operation. I guess there are weirder motives out there. But anyway, when Flo's husband died, she learned a few things about how life insurance works, and she came up with a plan to make the rest of her retirement as comfortable as possible. But she couldn't do it on her own. The scam was more convincing with a sidekick like Bee.
It's a simple plan. Take in and insure a homeless person no one will miss. They die in an accident.
But $500,000, I mean, that doesn't keep you in the lap of luxury for long. Not if you're these gals. So with Frank, they didn't stop at just one insurance policy.
Are you sure about this?
Don't worry. This little stamp is going to make us rich.
Once they had Frank's signature, they could take out as many policies as they liked from different companies. As long as the monthly premiums were paid, no one asked any questions. They just had to wait 2 years for the policies to mature.
And I can't remember if it was Jimmy or Mick.
And once they thought those 2 years were up, Flo and Bee set to work.
Would you like another?
Or Jimmy.
Oh, not again. Oh. Heard that story so many times.
He's out. He's out. Let's go.
I knew we should have gone to Pilates last week.
Just help me up, would you?
Bee, come on!
Go, 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 go.
Put your seatbelt on right this minute.
Flo and Bee tried to get away with murder and get a huge payout. But they made a critical mistake.
All right.
Okay, come on, let's do it. All right, go, go.
Okay.
But we screwed up the timing. The insurance wasn't mature. So they sent this investigator.
You screwed up the timing, not we. That was your job, you imbecile.
My job? You said you would keep track. Oh, you think you're so smart.
Flo and Bee are convicted on insurance fraud charges and Frank's murder. They get life without parole, and their sentences are to be served in the same prison.
I can't believe this.
You can't believe this.
You better watch your back in the food line.
Well, you better make sure I'm insured first, you old crone. We could have been sitting in Boca by now.
Oh,
They say you're never too old to try new things, and it turns out that's just as true for grifting and murder as it is for, say, lawn bowling. Flo and Bee looked like your typical harmless old ladies enjoying a golden sunset. But beneath those peace and love moo-moos, Bee was a limousine liberal who didn't want to travel coach in her old age. So she hitched a ride with Flo. And Flo herself, well, that blue blood of hers ran ice cold when it came to living the good life. She'd never trade that Gucci bag for a cheap knockoff. And as for the hapless victim, he too thought he'd landed in the lap of luxury. He didn't realize he was just a cash cow being fattened up for the slaughter, one premium at a time. You know, there are easier ways to fund that retirement, folks.